So this book is The Theory and Principles of Creating Effective Training Courses, what to do before you create your course. And as I read the introduction, it will tell you what it's about, who it's for, and why I've made it. So, are you sitting comfortably? Once upon a time, yes, it really does start like this. That day, it was an unusually warm day for England. The sun poured through the classroom window, spewing over my exercise book as I scribbled down the date with my HB Staedtler pencil. I was swinging backwards on my chair at the back of Mr. Burkett's history class. We were learning about King Henry VIII and all of his wives. The mousy-haired girl next to me was proudly reciting some poem that she said helped her remember who all of Henry's wives were and how they had died. I looked around the room with increasing confusion as to why learning any of this was important. How would memorizing the marital affairs of some ancient stranger make my life better? I just didn't understand, and I had to find out. I swung my chair decisively back onto all fours. This was serious. With genuine interest, I inquisitively raised my hand and asked, in only the best way a teenager can, "Sir, what exactly is the point in learning all of this?" Henry was dead after all, and I just didn't understand how it was going to help me get a job. The room fell silent as 19 girls flicked their heads around and stared at me in what looked like utter disbelief. The mousy-haired girl next to me buried her head in the oversized issue textbook as if she was embarrassed to know that I even existed. It rapidly became apparent that Mr. Burkett didn't like my question. Not one bit. I was quickly called a rude and preposterous little child. He asked me how I could be so stupid, and I was ordered to leave his classroom until I got a brain. I was humiliated, devastated, angry, and very frustrated. I had genuinely wanted to understand the value of his lesson. Now, until this point, I'd been doing well at school, despite my complete repulsion towards it. But this sudden declaration from a respectable person of authority that I was stupid and had no brain really hit me like a train in the face. Like many young students who have had similar experiences, this stimulus turned into a fixed, concrete belief that I was incapable of learning. My reaction was to withdraw. It was to hide from my inevitable failure. My reaction was to give up. But I also asked myself, why did he respond like that? He's my teacher. It's my job to learn, and it's his job to teach. If I was a teacher, how would I have answered that? I pondered this, and it occurred to me that my response would have been very different if I had been in his shoes. Little did I know that a fire inside me started burning, and that one day it would be an international roaring furnace. I became obsessed with what a good teacher actually looked like, what they did and how they taught. I became equally obsessed with understanding how we learn, what engages and disengages us, and what makes the greatest transformational learning experiences. I soon began a career in the adult education space, with my first post being a teacher in a male prison in the UK. By the age of 21, I'd worked my way up to a training manager in the welfare to work sector. I was well into my degree in education, was already running my own training organisation on the side that was teaching the facilitators of adult learning how to deliver effective and engaging training. After all, having been through a bad one, I felt partly qualified. My theoretical and my practical experiences combined, and my roles fueled one another and informed one another. And there began my journey of a life of dedication to contribute to the field of education for the benefit of learner and educator alike. In my 11+ years of now working in the education sector, I have come to learn that it's not what is being delivered, but it's the how. And underneath all of that is the why. See, I believe that you can make math enchanting. You can make compliance training captivating. You can engage the disengaged. You can make English literature magical. And you can make any learning rewarding and transformational. Learning is not boring. Bad delivery is boring. And by delivery, I don't just mean the charisma of the trainer, although that's important. I'm referring to the considerations made to the learning experience during the design of the intervention, and in particular, to the considerations of aligning those training to the principles of adult learning. And that is what this book is about. I would personally argue that the education we receive, formal or informal, has the greatest influence on our motivations, behaviours, our actions, inactions, our experiences, on our careers, relationships, successes, our failures, and indeed our entire life paths after our childhood years. If, as educators, we get this right by embedding the principles and the theory of effective adult learning in our formal and our informal education programs during the planning process, then we are doing ourselves, our students, and our industry the greatest service by creating and facilitating a platform for success. So this book here, this is for the conscious edupreneur. It's for the student-centered edupreneur, the edupreneur who sees the value of delivering quality training to their users for long-term results and for sustainable-based education businesses. This book is about how to build your training, less about how to build your training program. In the how to train your training program, I cover that in my next book, Entrepreneur to Edupreneur. But this book is instead about the why behind the how of building a training program. Because understanding the theory and the principles of adult learning is the underlying foundation behind all effective adult learning programs. Absorb all that is in this guide and follow the links to the free resources provided throughout this book, and you will stand out from the crowd as an edupreneur with high quality and transformational training that puts your learners' results first. This book here aims to open your awareness to the many factors that need to be considered before any training course should be designed, before it should be developed and delivered, so that you can be certain that you are creating training that your learners will love. I will take you through the fundamental elements that every adult learning program should include, consider, and cater to, so that your training engages, informs, transforms, and creates dedicated lifelong learners who rave about your content. This book is for the conscious edupreneur who wants to create and deliver quality training. My training personally is normally more focused on the how rather than the why. But with an epidemic of bad training practices infecting the education industry as the result of the online learning boom, it's now a critical time to ensure that all well-intended edupreneurs are armed with the must-know principles for creating and delivering quality training. And that means peeling back the marketing hype of make passive income online by teaching, and instead focusing in on what actually makes a good learning experience and what the underpinning factors are behind effective curriculum design. Also, after delivering my own course on how to create effective courses for a while now, I have noticed an increasing number of quality considerate edupreneurs who enjoy the research, they enjoy the theory and the backup as to why we construct, plan and deliver training in certain ways. It's to keep the standard of education high in a world where so many people are out to make a buck. Now, it's easy to create an online course, which is why the standard of education programs are being rapidly diluted by the lack of knowledge of the principles of adult learning. Now, I wanted to create a resource that would help all conscientious and student-centered edupreneurs to get it right, not just for their bank accounts, but also for the learner's experience too. So strip back the online learning boom hyperbole and the marketing make millions online static. This is the timeless quality education stuff that underpins all great learning programs, delivered by someone who's postgraduate qualified in education and has been in the industry since way before it was sexy. In this book, I present a number of timeless and new age considerations, theories, strategies and principles of formal curriculum design and delivery to enable the modern day edupreneur to be equipped with the most fundamental underpinning of knowledge to develop quality training programs that will serve their learners, their industries and themselves. I'm now going to skip past a whole few sections, and I'm going to take you to another chapter where the story I told at the beginning comes back into play. Now, this particular chapter is what's called Efficacious Education. And this is a term that I coined following my experience that then followed on from my bad history experience. And I believe that this is one of the most absolutely critical, important parts of delivering effective training. Efficacious education. In my opinion, ensuring that education is efficacious is hands down the most important part of designing and delivering effective adult education programs. So what is efficacious education? The efficacy effect is a concept that I have termed that illustrates how and to what extent people can influence the results through their belief in their own ability to control various life events. Our everyday experiences, indeed our entire life path, can be influenced by our perceived ability or inability to succeed in any given activity, despite what our actual ability may be. Now hang in here with me. Now apply this to educational context, and our sense of self-efficacy in the classroom can have a monumental impact on our academic or personal development achievements. Our existing belief systems and our subsequent behaviour patterns have been sculpted via an array of influences in our lives. Now, these can include your own evaluation of your past successes and failures, watching others who are similar to you succeed or fail, things that people have said to you, your emotions and your personal characteristics. Now, these perceptions are the result of our experiences, our environment, our culture, and our social groups. They often exclude factual analysis of our real abilities. Consequently, many of us make major life decisions based on false interpretation or misguided mindsets about our ability and delusional concepts of our non-competence to achieve. Now, Albert Einstein said that everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. Now, many of us face this kind of crushing judgment. We accept it as truth and we allow it to shape our entire lives, but not anymore. This chapter aims to show the EDUpreneur one of the most powerful ingredients possible that you can add to your training. Understanding and applying the techniques in your training to increase your students' educational efficacy will make you a better leader, parent, friend, educator, or self-motivator. I also hope that it will show you how a tiny action can cause a reaction great enough to change the life course of even the toughest shelled student. Now, efficacious comes from the Latin word efficere, which means to accomplish. Essentially, it means being successful in achieving a desired result or outcome. Efficacious education, therefore, means achieving desired results in the educational setting, but with the development of learner self-efficacy at the core. To have self-efficacy is to have faith in your ability to achieve desired results. In education and training, I believe that building learning that delivers results and builds our learners' sense of their own self-efficacy is one of the most powerful and transformational outcomes our training can ever give. Now let's go back to my history class, shall we? So those of you just jumping in, we told a story at the beginning. So there I was in the UK in summer 1994. I was packing up my little Garfield pencil tin, stuffing my oversized history textbook into my navy rucksack, and sorrily shuffling myself out of the classroom, wondering what on earth had just happened. "Don't come back until you've got a brain, Sarah!" When would that be, I wondered. Now here's the part of the story I haven't told you yet, the most important part for you as an educator to understand. Now, after my horrible history teacher had diagnosed me as not having a brain for asking the andragogical question, "What's the point of this class, sir?" things really took a turn for the worse. Like many young students who have had a similar experience, this stimulus turned into a fixed, concrete belief that I was incapable of learning. My reaction was to withdraw. It was to hide from the inevitable failure. It was to give up, and I did. I soon noticed that teachers began teaching me differently. Even when I copied my friends' homework word for word, they got A grades and I got C's. How could this be? It's a phenomenon of the reaction theory in the educational efficacy effect at play. I was ignored when I asked questions, and teachers asked me to go and clean out lost property boxes instead of join in on the class. These insults were the last straw on my efficacy. All my hope of being anything or anyone completely vanished. I resigned myself to being a failure, and all that was left was to wait for the day that I could finally be free from the misery and oppression of education. I often ask myself, why did he respond like that? He's my teacher. It's my job to learn and his job to teach. It was this point that I began to take refuge in the art classroom. Since it was clear that my academic teachers didn't care if I was in their classes or not, I was soon skipping most of them to immerse myself in a form of expression that had no right or wrong, no boundary of correctness or benchmark for assessment. I found a place in that art room where I could be alive, where I could be safe from failure. It was there in that art room that a mentor crossed my path and changed my life forever. He gave me a gift, precious, powerful, and immeasurably potent with positive force. It is the reason why I am alive today. Well, happy, and successful. 2 years had passed since my educational efficacy had been turned on its head. My art teacher had now become my only cheering supporter. He showed me, a young woman now, who had entirely given up on believing she was capable of learning, that I had in fact made monumental achievements. He had been aware the whole time, even though I had not, that I had been completing enough pieces of artwork to pass an A-level exam. He had secretly invited an art gallery to see my work, and the gallery commissioned me to a solo exhibition and informed me that the art invigilator had paid a generous amount of money for 2 of my paintings. I was absolutely blown away. Was this what success felt like? I was elated, and I was totally taken aback to know that I was a person capable of achieving it. My art teacher showed me that I was indeed brimming with competence, ability, and talent. And more importantly, he showed me that learning, succeeding, and achieving involved far more than just memorizing the names of promiscuous royal gentlemen or the chemical equation of photosynthesis. He showed me that learning and success took many different forms. This simple revelation, his encouragement and reminder that I already had proven that I could achieve, gave me the confidence to retake all of the exams that I had previously failed, every single one. With his constant reminder of my ability to create desired results, I faced my limiting beliefs, my fears, and the ridicule. And in just 12 months, I passed all 11 of my failed exams with exceptional results. My realization of the power of efficacy was born. As I realized that I was capable, that I could achieve, that success is something that was attainable for me, my educational and professional motivation went through the roof. I started setting goals, and my aspirations grew from my own survival to being the greatest version of myself so that I could help other people discover their own efficacy too. My newfound efficacy also inspired me to show that horrible history teacher just how he should have answered my question all those years ago. From that moment, I was motivated by a burning desire to pass on the miraculous gift of self-efficacy that my art teacher had so generously given to me. I had experienced the best and the worst of teaching. It had taught me a lot. I became obsessed with what a good teacher actually looked like, what they did and how they taught. I became equally obsessed with understanding how we learn, what engages and disengages us, and what makes the greatest transformational learning interventions. And thus began my journey of dedicating my life to contributing to the field of education for the benefit of learner and educator alike. Today, my business has educated thousands of people in over 121 countries, and it changes lives every single day. I continue to create desired results, both personal and professional, through building a belief system based on one's ability to achieve. All thanks to the singular intervention of one humble man who cared enough about all of his students' lives to make a difference. Today, I thank my appalling history teacher for teaching me how not to teach. If only I had his email address. Now here's how my horrible history teacher could have answered my question all those years ago. Sarah, everything we are experiencing today is the result of what we did yesterday. You can spend today waiting for tomorrow to be great, or you can spend today creating greatness so that tomorrow will give greatness to the world. You are the author of your own destiny. You have the power to write your own future and therefore your own history. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. Take it and ensure that you are the best you that you can be. That is what this history lesson is all about. Sadly, he didn't say that, but my art teacher found a way of allowing me to figure it out for myself. And I've now dedicated my life to passing that message on to others in every way possible. The moral of the story? Well, efficacy is the greatest influence on our motivations, behaviors, actions, inactions, daily experiences, our careers, relationships, our successes, our failures, and our life paths. One tiny event can be received as a life-changing shift in our mindset, which creates a reaction in proportion to that person's experience. This reaction is experienced or witnessed by others who can then add to the mindset negatively or positively by their own reaction. And so a pattern begins to emerge. I'm going to skip a few pages to the end of this chapter. Now, I consider self-efficacy, the self-efficacy element, as the most important part of course creation. Without the inner belief that they have the ability to achieve desired outcomes, our students are less likely to take educational risks, which is fundamental to their personal, professional, and academic success. Now, going back to my own story, I believe that there are far too many stories like mine. Almost every single day I hear from adults who remember negative educational experiences. This is detrimental to not only their continued education in adulthood, but as previously mentioned, it can also impact their lives on a much greater scale. Like a self-fulfilling prophecy, one simple stimulus can go on and affect our thoughts, our behaviors and actions and life outcomes because of the way that it made us feel and think about our own ability to achieve desired results. Later on, I'll explain more how you can implement the efficacy effect in your training, whether you're teaching personal development, professional development, whether you're teaching academic qualifications. You can instill educational efficacy in anyone you meet. You don't have to be a teacher. You can simply be a friend. You can simply be a parent to be able to do that. So this book is filled with the principles for creating training that engages, that inspires, in a way that's developed correctly, in a way that leaves people educationally empowered for the rest of their lives, not just for a short training program. As edupreneurs, as educators, as course creators, we need to make sure that our business is profitable. But in order for that to happen, we have to deliver a product that fundamentally delivers what it says it's going to do. And if you're an educator, transformational training is absolutely at the core of that. And with the world changing the way that it is and as rapidly as it is, with equal access to anyone being able to create online courses, which I believe everyone should do, I believe that people should be doing it, however, with these fundamental principles in mind. So here's my book. If you guys are interested in purchasing this, it's available from sarahcordiner.com/Amazon, and you can get a hard copy or an e-copy delivered to you very soon. Thanks for listening.